Good morning, everybody. That is totally not me. Hold on a second. My camera's not set to the right thing. Okay, there we go. That is actually me. That was a video that every weekend my family's been making family update videos for the past couple weeks for this current stay-at-home issue. And we're making little newscasts for our family for fun, talking about things like the chickens that we now have. Anyway, so here is the Drupal 7 to 8 migration live stream. Welcome to the video. I'm glad you're here. I hope you're doing okay. I know that the thing I'm looking forward to most at this point, besides the fact that I am still in a pretty secure, comfortable position for the work that I do, is getting a haircut. My hair is getting to be extremely long. You can see the little front thing here is kind of getting long enough that now I have to kind of push it over to the side. And yesterday when I was doing some yard work, I actually ended up wearing a headband because my hair was falling in front of my eyes and getting them sweaty. So these are things that I hope I can overcome once I get a haircut. I asked my wife if she'd just do a buzz cut, but she said that she did not want me to have a buzz cut. So for now, I'm just dealing with this hair. Hopefully you guys are dealing with any of the many little things that are going on in your lives in a good way. And speaking of employment and all of those kind of things, keeping things sustainable, the Drupal Association is still doing its Drupal Cares fundraiser. And this past week, I decided to donate up to $1,000, but basically make it so that anybody who maybe can't donate money on their own can give. And let me go over here so you can see. I have a link to it from the agenda. Again, the repository for my migration, jeffgeerling.com, is open source and public, and you can go here and find the agendas for all these live streams. I have a link to it, but you can also just go back on my YouTube channel. If you go to this video, I'm not going to play it. If you go to this video and click like, I will donate $1 to the Drupal Association by the end of April. And one like for $1. And then Dries is matching all donations up to $100,000 this month. So that one click for a like on that video will give $2 to the Drupal Association. There's some other things too that are going on that are pretty neat. Gabor from Acquia is also donating €9 per module that's migrated to Drupal 9. And someone else, I believe, is also matching that donation, which means if you find a module that has a Drupal 8 release that doesn't yet work with Drupal 9 and you port that, a lot of times it's just adding a change to the info file. If you do that, then you'll be donating it's like €36 per module that's migrated with a match from Dries and his wife Vanessa. So I encourage you to do that if you can, and help the Drupal Association. I explain a little bit more in that video that I linked here about how Drupal has helped my life and how it got me started in open source. And I know that a lot of people have a similar kind of story, and the Drupal Association has been a big part of Drupal's growth in the past decade. So please consider at least liking that video. That's $2 for the Drupal Association right there. And if you can, increasing your donation, changing your donation as a member, if you're a member of the Drupal Association, to a monthly donation instead of a yearly one. All those things would be great. Daniel says, donate for Jeff to shave his hair off. Don't think I haven't considered that. That would be an interesting thing. Maybe like if we could get 10,000 likes or something, then I shave my head or at least buzz it to a number 2 or something like that. Everybody seems to be suggesting this buzz cut. I'll have to tell my wife that the internet says it, so it must happen, maybe. We'll see by next week. So today I have, I guess it's now somewhat of a tradition. We'll kick off the live stream with a fun, wonderful Drupal song. This one coming from the Philippines, from a agency called New Helix, and it's a cover of the Drupal song. So enjoy.
Here you go. If you got a website, you need a system, no matter what your content, Drupal. If you need to build a web application, you gotta download Drupal. Drupal, 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 Drupal.
That was something for sure. There's actually a ton of different covers. If you search for the Drupal song on YouTube, you'll find many other covers of that song. Like I said, the Drupal Association has meant a lot, and the reason they're doing this fundraiser is because DrupalCon this year is not happening and may not happen at all this year in Minneapolis. And DrupalCon's big in so many ways. It's not only something that generates revenue for the Drupal Association to pay their annual bills and pay for things like Drupal.org hosting and the staff that manages the events and the Drupal.org site and all of the association things that happen. It's also the time when we can come together as a Drupal community and meet each other. And I know that I miss that. This would be the first year in 7 or 8 years that I hadn't been to any Drupal events yet. Mid-camp became virtual, that kind of stuff. So hopefully this live stream helps a little bit with some people to get together and see. I guess you can see my face. I can't see your face. So hopefully you're able to get to some of these other online virtual meetups and Drupal camps that are going virtual, and get connected in some ways to the Drupal community. And between last live stream and this live stream, there have been a couple big changes. One of them, I need to rearrange my windows now. One of them, which is the reason why I'm spending more time looking up and down at my windows, is I got a new laptop. And you might notice that the quality of the stream is about 50 times better. The fan on the laptop is still spinning, but I was able to, through a donation that I got from a sponsorship donation from a company called Device42. They sponsored an extra month of my Ansible books being freely available. Through that donation, I was able to buy a new laptop, which I've been hoping to do for a while, but it kind of gave me the final impetus, like maybe it's time to actually do this. And so I bought a new Core i9 MacBook Pro that has 8 cores on its processor. So you can see up here this little CPU utility that I use. It shows all 8 cores here. My old laptop had 4 cores, and it was an i7, and it was a lot slower. And it was a 6th generation or 7th generation. This is a 9th generation chip. And it has 32 gigs of RAM, and it has a GPU, a dedicated GPU. So I could turn up the settings even higher than this. I might even be able to do 4K streaming. I haven't even tested that. I don't know if YouTube even supports that, but this laptop could do that, and it's amazing. I was doing some testing this morning, and the most amazing thing is on my local site, when I click on links, they load. Like I can click around and things actually load. I don't know if you remember the live stream last week. When I was doing things, I would click, and then it would be about 45 seconds or so before anything happens. So that's huge, and hopefully we can get through a lot more today. But thank you so much to Device42 for making that happen. Without that, I would still be putzing around on my old laptop, which now has a battery that's expanding. I actually sent it in for service yesterday. So that laptop served me well for a few years, but the battery has expanded twice, and I'm going to replace the battery and then maybe give it to my wife, who doesn't, she wants a new laptop, but she doesn't need the fastest, bestest because she's not live streaming anything. Besides that, I actually tested the redirect migration that we did last week. That was the last thing that we did, and I kind of gave up because my computer was blowing up. I set up the redirect migration in this commit, in this PR. Daniel says it does support 4K streaming. So, Daniel, good job. Thank you for donating an extra $100 to the Drupal Association. I think it's amazing. Some of us do have the ability right now, and it's been like I made sure I made an extra donation to our local food pantry. There are a couple other organizations that I know have been struggling. Like if you have the means, it's something that helps everyone. It helps you to know that you're supporting something that has helped people around you all the time. And it helps the organization stay intact and be able to do the things that they need to do to serve. So if you have the means right now and you're stable in your job and you aren't, you're not worrying as much about being laid off or furloughed, please consider donating. There's plenty of places that can use it. So anyway, the redirect, this is not what I was looking for. The redirect was there a pull request for this? Yeah, redirect migration. So what we did was we added the redirect module, and then we grabbed its redirect migration from the module itself and basically pasted it into our config. And once you do that, it doesn't have a UUID, it doesn't have a line code, it just has what was in the redirect migration template. But then if you import the configuration from there, it adds it in. All I did was I added migration group so that it would be grouped with all the other Drupal 7 migrations. And then I imported the configuration, and then I re-exported the configuration, and then this popped out with all of these settings, including the UUID for the migration. So now anytime I reinstall the site, this migration is ready, and it picks it up and it pulls in the redirects. And I tested and made sure that all of the redirects, if I go over here, all the redirects from my old site are now on this new site. If I go to search and I can't speak like normal. Search and metadata. If I go to redirects, it has them all listed here. I just did a migration this morning, so, and I can test them too. So this is a really old, I think I wrote this article in maybe 2005 or 6, something like that. I wrote it, it was an HTML file. That's how old that was. It was a custom HTML file from back when I managed the site just using a HTML editor. And if I go to localhost/that, and don't have 2 slashes there, it should redirect me to the article, which it did. The article with the missing images, of course. That's, really old content. But like I've said in a couple other episodes, one of the things that's most important to me is preserving all these things, because if somebody linked to one of these super old blog posts that I wrote maybe in college or 10 or 20 years ago, if somebody linked to this, I want to make sure that that link doesn't ever go away. Some people use something like when they hit a 404 page, it adds a search with the URL in it, and that might or might not help. But I want to make sure that this link is preserved forever. So if I can, I might as well. So that's why I do this. And it also helps with your SEO. If you have old links from other sites that aren't redirected and turn into 404s, you lose that link power through Google and DuckDuckGo and Bing and whatever other search engines do that. Daniel says, imagine how good it would have been if you got Linux and not a Mac. It's actually funny you mentioned that. Somebody who I was talking to earlier this morning who does use Linux as their daily driver, they also are doing some live streaming with a DSLR connected through HDMI. And they said that the problem that they had is that HDMI adapter, the one that they bought, I forget what brand it was. I have the Elgato Camlink, but the one that they bought was having trouble. So they switched to the Mac, the family Mac, and it was working better. So, that's one of the downsides sometimes of using Linux on your desktop. But I would if I didn't have to do any media stuff, that's for sure. So let's see, got that. Music video. Another thing I wanted to mention about the redirect migration is I noticed, so in Drupal 7, if I go to jeffgeerling.com, go to search and metadata, redirects, one cool feature that Drupal 7 has out of the box is it has a count of redirects. So you can see, apparently there are still people that link to here. So I'm guessing one of my social media profiles or something is still linking to jeffgeerling.com/about.html. So this redirect is used a lot, but I know that because it has some statistics. It says it's been used 403 times. Last time was less than a day ago, so it's definitely an active link somewhere. And you can see that, and it can be helpful because you can say like, oh, what's linking to this? And then you can search the web and find something that's linking to it. And in Drupal 8, I noticed that didn't seem to exist. So let me go back, localhost. Let me go back here. Whoops. I'm too quick for this thing. Okay, URL redirects. So on here, it's a little simpler. There's no count and there's no last time access, that kind of thing. So I was like, well, what happened there? In Drupal 8, apparently they broke out that functionality into a separate module, and it's called redirect metrics. And it adds basically the same information that was there in Drupal 7. However, there's only 28 sites currently using this module. It's an alpha release. It hasn't been released for many months. So I didn't want to pop it on my site at this time. It also has a warning about cached responses not being counted, which I understand. And also the redirect entity will be resaved. That was something that alarmed me a little more, because I believe in Drupal 7, it's not super heavyweight because it just adds a row to a database table or something like that. But in Drupal 8, if it's resaving an entity save is actually a pretty heavy operation in Drupal. It does a lot of database requests and things. So I was like, I'll leave that off for now. If it becomes something that is annoying to me, I'll add it later maybe. The other thing was Oliver, who's on the webcast. Hello, I waved to you. I see you clapped earlier for Daniel, something Daniel said. Oh, and hi, App, again. Good to be with you, too. Oliver asked on Twitter a question about the stream. He said, in my README file, which I have, which you can view online, actually, I'll go there because it's formatted a little nicer on here. In my README file, I have some information like copy this file, run a composer install thing, run Docker Compose up, install Drupal using this command, migrate the content. All these different commands are broken out in the README file. And wouldn't it be nicer to have like a setup.sh script, or use a tool, use like make and have a make file that does it all for me, or some of the tools like I know Acquia BLT, which BLT Acquia, I believe it's still an actively maintained product that they have, that I used to work on it a lot when I was at Acquia. BLT has kind of a full package where you just run a command like BLT up or BLT start, or I forget what it is, and BLT will do everything for you locally once you clone the project. Why don't I do that kind of thing? And I usually, if I'm on a team setting, I will have something like that no matter what. Any of the team projects in Drupal that I've set up, we usually use a tool like BLT, or have a script that we share and run to bring everything up and tear everything down. For personal projects, I don't usually do that. And I think I talked about this in episode 2 or 3, one time when we were talking about dev environments. And the main reason for that is my site's been around since 2004 or 5 in one form or another. I put it into a Git repository, maybe in, let me see, if I go to sites, Drupal 7, Git log, and I'll go back forever. So this has been in a Git repository for 8 years, and that was when I did Drupal 7. And in Drupal 6, it wasn't using Git back then, but it was still a Drupal project that I probably managed via FTP, and that was like 12 or 13 years ago. So far in my life, I've never encountered a tool like BLT or something like Make or whatever that doesn't require any maintenance over a decade time span. So for a personal project, I usually leave all the things like this manual, because these steps, one of them is going to break, like composer install might change, or Docker Compose might require some changes to the command. And so I like to have it broken out like this. That way I know exactly where the problem is when it happens and can update that part of the documentation in the README file. And it's something that I'll only be doing this once every few months once I get the site up and running, because I'm not actively developing my site. So I like to do it like this just for better maintenance for myself, instead of using a tool that changes all the time. Like if I used, one good example is Lando. Every couple of years, Lando makes some pretty big changes that would require me to basically rework the way that my site interacts with Lando, change some config files, all that kind of stuff. I just don't want to do that for this personal site. So I don't recommend it as a best practice to have all these manual steps, especially if you're working in a team environment, but that's why I'm doing it here. And I figured it would be a good, Git log reverse. Yeah, that'd be one way to do that without having to scroll through it all. But anyway, so that was that question. And the next thing I wanted to do was get Pathauto working, because we're on the theme of getting, we have redirects working now. But if I go to add new content, I'm going to add a blog post. And I'll just say test blog post, testing. And I don't know why comment settings, I guess you have to choose open or close, but if it's already chosen, why does it have an asterisk? Okay, so save. So when I save that, it's going to have node 2993, and that's really ugly. And it's not good for SEO purposes either to have URLs like that. And I have it set up in Drupal 7. It's where if I go jeffgeerling.com, it uses the Pathauto module. And if I say testing, test, and then I'm not going to publish this because this is on the live site. You can see it has blog / the year / the title. And the title is using the tokenizer or token, or I forget what module that is that makes the path normalized so it's URL safe. But anyway, so I'm using Pathauto for that, and Pathauto, I'm amazed that it still is not a Drupal core module, but maybe Drupal 10 will have that happen. It's not in Drupal 9, that's for sure. Anyway, so I want to get that working, so I'm going to delete this post. And the first thing is to get the module, of course. So we'll do that first. Let me close this out. Pathauto. So I'm going to open up this issue on GitHub. I'm going to go ahead and create a new branch. Git checkout-b 32 Pathauto. All right. Pathauto, Drupal Pathauto module. And it's unbelievable to me, like this is such a change from last week that I can do all this stuff and my computer's not completely falling over and dying. Daniel says, what are you wanting for Drupal 10? Pathauto module in core. I don't know why it's not there yet. It's like, I've literally never built a Drupal site without Pathauto. Even if you're building an internal site that won't need the SEO stuff, having URLs with paths that are reasonable and human readable is huge. I guess part of the reason might be because Drupal.org doesn't use it, so it's not, I don't know the reasons for it, but redirect is almost another one that I would love to see in core, but oh well. So it looks like in Drupal 8, Pathauto requires token and ctools, so when I require it with Composer, it should pull those in automatically. We'll see if that works. And we'll also see if Composer falls over and dies. It shouldn't. I haven't tested Composer on here. And of course on the new computer now I'm having to reapprove all the different web requests. PHP is trying to contact packages in Drupal.org and probably GitHub and other places. That is from, for anyone interested, that's from Little Snitch. It's an app that runs on the Mac and has a kernel extension that monitors all network traffic and shows you if some application is trying to make sneaky web requests on the back end to something. And it also shows you a map of where your requests are going, so you can see when you're doing Zoom or something and see all the traffic going to wherever, if it's China or Europe or wherever it's going. You can see that very easily and visually in there. And Daniel mentions that a lot of people just have a Composer template type thing that they use as default. And that's true, but it would be nice if it were part of Drupal core and were managed that way and migrations were part of core and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so it looks like it added it. Let me just make sure in my composer.json, there's Pathauto. And it should have added, I believe, ctools. Yeah, so here's ctools. And what was the other one that Pathauto said it required? Token. So it requires token and ctools, there's token. Okay, so those are there and they should be installed. And now I'm gonna say, I'm gonna use my little shortcut thing here. Drush pm enable Pathauto, and let's see if that works. I don't think you have to put in their ctools and token. I think it picks those up automatically with Drush. Following modules have been enabled, yes. All right, so it enabled those 3 modules, and if I go over to my site, I should see that Pathauto is now here. If I refresh and then go to configuration, I think it's in here is the settings, URL aliases. Yeah, patterns. So if I go to patterns, there are no Pathauto pattern entities. And if I go to settings, that's where it has all the different tweakable options that you can have for Pathauto itself when it makes the aliases. I'm going to check really quick. I don't know if it has a migration or not. If it does, maybe we can try that. If it doesn't, I'll have to manually migrate patterns like we do for views. But I'm going to check in modules, contrib, Pathauto, migrations. It does have something. So it has settings and patterns. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy these. I'm going to find them in the Finder. I'm going to copy both of these out. I remember last week too, I would click on a folder and it would take like 30 seconds for it to open that folder. So it's nice to be able to at least browse your file system. So we're going to go to config, sync, and then actually I'm going to paste them in here first. And then what are these called? Migrate plus. So here. Upgrade D7. So I'm going to call this upgrade D7 Pathauto patterns. And I'm going to call this one the same. Upgrade D7 Pathauto settings. And then I'm going to drag these into the sync directory for my config for my site. And I'm going to add the migration group. Excuse me for a moment. I still don't have a little remote control thing, so I can't, there's no mute button for coughs, but I'll mute myself on OBS. How's everybody doing on the toilet paper situation? I know I finally found some on Walmart.com that I could get shipped to my house, a 12-pack. So we're good for another week or so, but a family of 5, we use a good deal of toilet paper. If you don't know, I have Crohn's disease, so I actually don't need to do a certain activity that requires toilet paper anymore because of a surgery that I had last year, or 2 years ago now. But if you do have trouble getting toilet paper, and you might also have trouble getting one of these, but a bidet is also a pretty nice option there. I was reminded of that because we almost ran out of Kleenex as well. With this being allergy season and me having pretty ridiculous allergies to pollen and pretty much pollen and everything outside, and my son also having that, we're going through Kleenex a little more. So anyway, paper products are always in short supply. So I put those things into the config directory. Let me switch windows back over here because OBS is now hiding the chat. And find that migration that I just added. Upgrade D7 Pathauto patterns. So first I'm going to add the group in here, migration group, migrate Drupal 7. So I'm going to add that to here and add that to here. And now I'm going to, first I'm going to actually, so what I should have done, I'm going to take these two. I'm going to drag them, I'll just pop them on my desktop really quick, which you can't see because I just dragged them behind my face. So I'll drag them over here. Now you can see where those files are. I'm going to export the configuration since I just enabled these modules. And then I'm going to import the migrations and then hopefully run them and then re-export it and we'll see what happens. So I'm going to say drush configuration export -y. There will probably be some other changes here. Let me see. So this is funny. I manually recreated this block, so it's going to add a new block here, and we'll see what happens with that. Pathauto settings, that's fine. These are tokens. Those are new. That's fine. That's all good. Core extension has the new modules enabled, and these, I believe, these are all just going to be some. It's funny. It deleted block what I do, and it created block what I do. It doesn't see that it's just an update, but there's a new UUID because I had to manually recreate the block. Anyway, so these changes are all good. I'm going to actually add that git status, and then git commit -m issue number, what is this issue? 32, add Pathauto module to code base. Okay, so I have the config there, and if I run, let's see, config import, which is CIM, let's see what it does. It should say that there's no changes required. Yeah, no changes to import. So now I'm going to drop these back in here. I have to find where they are in the Finder again. I'm going to put these files back into the migration. And again, they're right. Where did they go? Upgrade D7 Pathauto. So here's Pathauto patterns and settings. So I'm going to import again, and it should pick up those 2 new migrations, just like it did with redirect last week. It's asking me if I want to do that. Yes, I do. And then I should be able to run those migrations by themselves, which, what is it? Migrate import. What's the command for migrate import? Yeah. So I'll do, now I should be able to do, actually if I do CEX-Y, it should update these migrations with UUIDs. So let's see, it deleted those 2. That's interesting. I don't know. Oh, I didn't rename the IDs of them, so hold on. So it renamed them to D7, but it gave it a UUID. I want to make that uniform, but I don't care too much. I'll just leave it as is like this, because it's just a migration, and it's just noting that it's D7. Okay, so it has all this extra information filled in, like it added all these things that are specific to my site. And I believe now at this point I should be able to run the migrations. So I'm going to say drush migrate import, and we'll do Pathauto, we'll do settings first. So let me go over to the settings and see what we have right now. So those are all the defaults. I believe I use all the defaults in Drupal 7 as well. So let's see what it says when we do this migration. Oh, connection refused. I have the database stopped right now. Start. All right, and I'll have to wait a few seconds for that database to get spun up. It's starting MySQL in the background. All right, let's try running that migration again and see if it sees the database now. No migrations found. Oh, this should be just the migration name, the ID of it. That matches this ID right here. So let's see if that works. It processed 6 items. Oh, those are the patterns. I just did the patterns. I thought I was going to do the settings first. So let's see if we have the patterns now and if they work. So we have blog post is blog/current date custom year node title. And that's attached to blog post. For pages, it's just the title of the page. So about would be /about. Projects, it's project/title. So that looks correct. And then we also have taxonomy terms and usernames. And the default is just the node title for content. So let's actually test that. That seems like it should work. If I go to create a new blog post, test blog post, just like we did earlier, testing. And if I look here, it should have that checked, and that means it's going to generate it using Pathauto. If I save it, let's see what it does. There it is. So now this works the same as Drupal 7, and that's nice. And I'm going to also migrate the settings, Pathauto settings. And it just did one migration for the settings. Let's see if there's anything weird changed here. Doesn't look like it. Create a new alias, delete the old one. And I believe redirect migrated its setting that it will create a redirect when the URL alias is changed, so that's good. So that's the setting that I had on my old site. So everything looks good here. I think we're good on the Pathauto migration, and I can test that by. So when I change the URL of this, or when I change the title of this post Pathauto is going to update the URL to reflect the new title. I like to do that just because that way, when people visit this page in the future, they'll see the actual title in the URL then, and not see like some weird old URL that doesn't have anything to do with the new title. Because every once in a while you do need to retitle something or update an old title with new title. So I'll change that and save it, and that should update the path here. Now what should happen is if I go to this old path, it should redirect me to the new one, which it does, because if I go to the page and look at redirects, it added one automatically for me, magically. And this is one thing where a lot of people are like, oh, why would you use Drupal over something else like WordPress or whatever? Little things like this actually do just work, and they're easy to set up and configure in Drupal versus some other systems. WordPress is pretty good about it nowadays, but there was a time when that wasn't the case. But a lot of systems, it's really hard to get URL structures working well, and in Drupal it's really easy. So I really like the redirect Pathauto token module suite for SEO purposes and for usability. When you're going around on the site, you can know where you are just by using the path and seeing where you are. Although some browsers nowadays hide the path, I think that's absolutely insane that they would just show you the domain you're on and not show you the path. In Safari, I think it might do that by default even, and I have that turned off. But anyway, that's something that is neither here nor there, and we could talk about that some other day. But we have this working. I'm going to go ahead and delete this test blog post. And now I'm going to export the configuration because I have the new patterns saved for Pathauto. So let's check the Git status. It should have the migrations set up. It should have Pathauto patterns and all that. So I'm going to say git add -a, git commit, and this is fixes number 32 because we have everything done at this point. Add ensure Pathauto patterns are migrated and working. All right, git push -u origin 32. So I'm going to make a PR just to make sure that this is all good in CI and installs correctly before I merge it into the master branch. I don't know what's going on here. Hopefully GitHub's not having a problem today. There's always a chance that that could be the case. I hope not. Oh, you gotta be kidding. Some services are degraded. That's always a little alarming. Whenever it says this, that usually means everything is broken and down and blowing up, but they're not gonna admit it until like an hour later when they're like, yep, everything's actually down. Because I'm trying to push and it sure is not pushing right now. Let's try running that again. Yeah, so anyway, GitHub's down. Something's down with GitHub. It's not reflected here, but we'll just keep moving on, even though we can't finish doing that push. Stop using GitHub, GitLab for the win. Yeah, well, it's funny, until this particular project, I actually have a separate Git server. It's not running GitHub, or it's not running GitLab, it's not running Gitea or anything like that. It's literally just Git with SSH so that I can push and pull from it. Oh, look, this is finally working. So GitHub is just slow right now. Anyway, it's a custom Git server, and it's run perfectly for 7 or 8 years that I've had it running. I have probably 200 projects on that thing. And the annoying thing is managing keys for SSH for all the different services I run. It's kind of annoying to have to set all that up manually and have them pass around and have my Ansible playbooks that manage them for me. So I'm starting to move more stuff to GitHub, mostly because everything else I do is already there, and I can manage my access keys and deploy keys and things like that. They're a lot easier. It has a UI for it. Things like that are nice. But I'm going to say GitHub. I'm using the GitHub command line tool, which lets you create PRs and create issues and view things on your terminal. So I'm going to say GitHub PR create. And we'll see if GitHub issues are also having trouble right now, which it seems like they might be, judging by the slowness here. But I did want to do it the right way. Maybe I won't do it the right way, and I'll just do it the quick way to push this in. It's funny, now that I have a computer that can cope with the live stream, GitHub is deciding to go down again. It's kind of crazy. Like, this is 2 times. I've only done 12 episodes, so 12 hours. And of those 12 hours of episodes for live streams, GitHub has been down for now at least one of them. And, if it's down for a long time today, that'll be 2 hours. So 2 out of 12, that's a lot of downtime for a service that runs most of the internet. And so that's not working that hot. I'd say that services are definitely degraded. And this is not a true reflection of reality, because I'm having trouble doing Git operations and issues, which are both saying normal right now, but are totally not normal at all. Oh, well, that's fun. I got an error message. Yeah, so something's definitely up with GitHub right now. I'm going to forget about that, and we'll see if I can do it through the web UI really quick. Master. Oh, look at that. It can't even load the branches. So yeah, GitHub's having some major issues. We're going to forget about actually finishing that off for now, and we're going to move on to the next thing. So trusted host settings. I have, yeah, GitHub, I would say that there's definitely a little bit of a problem somewhere. But I wanted to configure trusted host settings because I noticed when I was setting up my local site today, I went over to the reports page, the status report, and I saw that there was one big error message here, and it said not enabled trusted host settings. This is something that can help in a couple different situations. One thing that I have had happen before is if you run cron on a Drupal site using a web request, and you're running it from a script that's running on your server, and you call localhost instead of your actual full domain name, sometimes certain things that cron uses, like path-based things and maybe the sitemap generation, things like that, some of those things can use the wrong URL, and you end up with URLs, links on your site that go to localhost and get broken. I've seen that happen, and I know with sitemaps.xml, but some other things too. So that's one thing where you want to make sure you're always accessing the site from the proper domain. Also, it can prevent host header attacks where somebody can kind of impersonate your site using a different domain. And that can lead to some edge cases where there are security issues. It's not super common, but it does happen. And because of that, it's better to add trusted hosts to give yourself a layer of protection there. And that's a setting in settings.php that I just hadn't had time yet to set up. So I was going to do that and make it so that it works both with my local environment, which I'm accessing at localhost. That's the URL that I'm using up here. And it'll work on jeffgeerling.com when it migrates there. So let me find sites, default. I think I have my settings.php in the code base, so I can just change it here. So let me see, trusted host patterns. Okay, patterns. All right, so I want to add that here. I'll take the example here and pop it into here. In Sublime Text, I can hold down the Option key to select multiple columns of text, which is nice because I can just do that. And then I'm going to set jeffgeerling.com, and actually I want to do www. And this is a regular expression pattern. This is just saying at the beginning, this is the beginning of the string, www, and then for any dots, you have to escape them using a backslash. And then Jeff Geerling, again, an escapes.com, and that's the full host. It's going to be www.jeffgeerling.com, because I don't want people accessing jeffgeerling.com, but only www. So I can delete this, and this, and this, but I also want to be able to access this from localhost, because I believe if I save this and refresh, then Drupal is going to give me an error message, because this is not a valid host name. So I'm going to add... and actually, what I'm going to do, this is what I want for the live site, but for local development, I also want to allow localhost. So I'm going to add this to my settings.local.php. I'll add it up here at the top, and I'll put in localhost. And if you use DDEV or Lando or some other things, or XAMPP or MAMP or WAMP or any of those kind of things, there's actually a if I go to the Drupal.org documentation for this page, there are examples for how to set up this for everything. If you don't know regular expressions that well, this is a useful page to help you get started. Like for, what is this, for XAMPP, or for dev desktop, you would use this kind of thing. For the .dd domain, here's how to do localhost or different IP addresses you might use to access it. So that's all on this trusted host settings page. It's nice that that's all documented. One of the shining examples of good documentation for a setting in Drupal. So on my local site, it's loading this settings.local.php file. So I'm going to save that, and now this page should load for me again because localhost is an allowed domain. In the settings.php, that's going to be on the live site. It'll use just www, so you won't be able to access the site at localhost. And then I need to add this to my example settings.local.php file as well, so that next time I set up this site, since this is not tracked in Git, this one is, that's used to set up your local environment. I'll leave it in there. So that's that, and I'm gonna actually go back, git checkout master, git, what am I doing here? Git status, commit, fixes number, what is this? 59. The unicorn, no. Add, what is the setting called? Trusted host patterns. I'm wondering, it could be that just my site is taking down GitHub. Maybe it's so powerful. Oh, I didn't actually add those files. Git add, git status. Okay, let's try actually committing that now. All right, and then I'm actually going to merge in this other branch because it's going to work. I like to push up a PR to make sure that it works in GitHub Actions, but right now that's not working. So I'm going to say git merge -- no fast forward. And what issue is that? 32 Pathauto. Merge that branch in and git status. Okay, so git push. That's probably not, oh, it's actually a little faster. It looks like it's saying that everything is degraded. See, they should just listen to me. If I tell them that things are degraded, then they do it eventually, but they should just do it right when I tell them. But it looks like that push worked. And if I go here, am I still getting the unicorn? No, that worked. Okay. But I just pushed some code, so this should be closed out now because I just pushed git log. I just pushed this. Fixes, no, what did I do? I pushed fixes number. Where's that issue that I just fixed? Fixes 32. And I merged the redirects, but I thought I pushed up the fix for number 59 as well. Well, I don't know. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. It's not showing up here. Git log. Oh, so here's that commit. Fix add trusted host patterns. It's not showing up here because GitHub's having some issues. And that's just the way of things. And this probably won't work either. I fixed that, but it's not going to give me the check mark. All right, so we still have some time left. This is great being able to use a computer and not have it blow up on me while I'm trying to do these things. And it looks like we got those two issues finished. Let me make sure I'm in a clean area. And let me also delete that branch. Git branch -d. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to delete it just in case GitHub blows up spectacularly and I need it. I shouldn't because my local repo also has it merged into master, but weird, stranger things have happened, so I'm going to leave it until GitHub's back to happiness. Because I did push it up to GitHub. And anyway, yeah, GitHub's definitely having issues. So next up, I'm going to work on config split. So another problem that that most of us encounter if we're going to run a site. So I have a local host right now, and that's the only environment I'm running in. But actually, that's technically not true because I also, if GitHub ever works, I also have the GitHub Actions environment, which is a CI environment that I might want to have some other module enabled, or I might want to have some setting changed in CI that's not the same in localhost. And eventually, soda doesn't really help with my throat, so I'm going to get some water. As I said, the allergies are kind of strong right now, so my throat's getting a little annoyed, I guess you could say, by the allergies. But anyway, so I have those two environments, and then eventually I'm going to have a production environment, which is jeffgeerling.com. And I want to have some configuration differences between those three environments. So right now, with the way this site is set up and with the way that Drupal is by default, you have one config directory. And this one config directory controls the config for everywhere that your site exists. And so if you want to have, oh, well, now we lost the agenda issue and we can't see it. So luckily we're on the last agenda item and it doesn't matter too much. But it would be nice if GitHub could work for a full live stream. There we go. Okay, so we have it back. But anyway, so I want to have the ability to have a module like devel when I'm doing local development, but I don't need it in CI and I don't need it in production. I really don't want it in production because in production it could potentially lead to security problems. And modules like that have in the past. If you have a development module that has a library that it uses that has a vulnerability in it and it's not enabled in production, so if you're not checking your updates regularly in your local environment and you leave devel module disabled and it has a vulnerability in it that you don't know about because it's not enabled and not getting checked for updates, then that can cause issues. So I want to make it so that my dev dependencies, so if I go here and into my composer.json, I want to make it so that these dependencies aren't even installed, aren't even present in production. Because even if the code is there, that could lead to a vulnerability, especially since Drupal has PHP code in the web root. Some other PHP projects don't have PHP code in the web root, only like static files and media assets and things like that. So this is something I don't want it in the code base, but if my configuration is the same for local and production, and I want to use devel module in local, then I'm going to have to use devel module in production because it's going to be in that core.extension config file. So I want to split my configuration between different environments. And I'm going to see, I know that there was an effort to get this into Drupal core itself at some point. I don't know the status of that, so I'm going to check into that and see where we are. But I know last time I set this up, it was the configuration split module. And we'll see, there's a guide for this too. There's online documentation for it. Let's see. Depends on the config filter. It looks like it's still actively the thing to use. But let's see if there's any other information here. So we want to do this basically. We want to have a dev. For now, the only thing I care about is my dev environment should have coder and devel. I guess CI should also have coder, but it's not an enabled module, so that doesn't matter. But the main thing is I just want devel in my local environment. I don't want it in production. So I'm going to go to this guide and see what it says. Let's see. Make sure I have no config overrides. So I'll go ahead and do this. Better to follow the documentation if you can. Let's find where I have that Docker compose. Now I have drush twice. Config status, make sure that I'm clean there. No differences, so that's good. Enable this module in a local environment. So first I need to install it. So I'm going to composer require it. I'm going to create a new branch for this. Git branch -d -b. I'm not deleting the branch. Number 40. So I'm going to call this branch 40 config split. And what did I do? Why is this wrong? Git branch. I'm totally blanking right now. Oh, git checkout. Yeah. My brain is starting to stop working at 10:54. Git checkout -b to create a new branch. 40, now I'm forgetting what this was. 40 config, come on, split. Okay, now I'm in a new branch. I'm going to require this module. So grab the link here. And we might not be able to finish all of this by today, but we do have 6 minutes. Thanks, Mr. Cook. Again, I have to wonder, is that Tim Cook? And if so, I would love it if you would send me a Mac Pro. That'd be pretty cool. But if you're not Tim Cook, that's okay too. Don't feel obligated to send the Mac Pro. So composer require coffee / Jeff. That is why I have this diet, Dr. Pepper. It puts a little pep in my step in the morning. That's for sure. But it does not help with slightly scratchy throat from allergies. All right, so we have config split. I'm going to keep following this guide, enable it in the local environment. So git, what is it? Drush pm enable config, well, what is it called? Config split. So I think it's just that. We'll see if that works. And again, you can do these things from the module page. I could go to extend and then find config split and enable it there, but I'm just doing it on the command line because it's slightly faster. And I have PTSD from last week when I was doing things in the UI and it was taking minutes. So I need to enable config filter as well, so that's fine. Yes, I would love to do that. Okay, so git. So what I want to do now is export the config, it looks like. So drush cx-y to export the new config. Okay, git status, git add-a, git commit-m, 40 issue number 40, add configuration split module. Okay, I'm going to push up this branch, but we'll see if it works. Origin 40. So this is just adding the module, and then it looks like the way that it wants you to work. And this is kind of a chicken and egg issue. If you already have a live environment, it's more annoying because you have to enable the thing, commit the code, push the code up to your live site, export the configuration from the live site, and then you can start working from there. Since I don't have a live site yet, I'm going to treat my local environment as a live site really quick. So I'm going to disable the devel module for now. So I'm going to say drush pm disable devel. It does not, okay, uninstall. Because in Drupal 8 you can't disable modules. I always forget that. All right, so uninstall devel, and then I believe, so I need to export this configuration again, because this is like acting like what prod is. So export that. Okay, git commit-m, issue number 40, disable devel modules since it shouldn't be enabled in prod. Push that up. Okay, so now devel module is not enabled, but I still only have one configuration set up for the site. So now I need to add a config split, which is over here. So admin, let me make sure that trusted host settings warning is gone now. Yeah, it looks like that's gone now. Okay, so if I go to, what is it? Configuration development, configuration split setting, development settings, and then add configuration split setting. And I'm going to add development. And I'm going to call this dev. Actually, I'm just going to call it dev because it's my dev environment. And let's see, it wants me to is this? So sibling directory for that. So what I want to do is call this config relative to the Drupal root. So this should be /config/dev and complete split. I want to add devel module, but devel is not enabled yet. So for now, that's good for me. Save. It doesn't exist. It's relative to the Drupal root. The Drupal root is here, so // would be up here. Config dev. This doesn't make too much sense to me. Edit. Relative to the Drupal root. What is it saying here? Sites default. I'm not going to put my config into the sites default folder. Well, it looks like, so we're hitting 11 o'clock. And this is one area that I remember in previous site builds, sometimes there was weird issues with config sync and setting up the pathing and stuff. So I think we're going to leave this off for next week, and we'll figure it out then together. I might cheat and spend a few minutes taking a look at this. It's funny because it even mentions that should be working there, but it looks like it's not. But it is what it is, and since GitHub is definitely having major issues, I don't think we'll get too much further anyways once we do start working on this, because I wanted to make sure the config split works in CI as well, because we might have to have another CI config split. But anyway, because of those issues, it's probably good to wrap it up since it's been an hour. So somebody says create the folder dev. Let's do that really quick just in case that's the problem. That would make sense, because if the folder doesn't exist, it can't see it. Let's see if that's the case. Save. Looks like that might have worked. Okay, so thank you very much. Who was that? Ryan. Thanks for mentioning that. Someone says you're not a Mac man, right? I don't know who you're talking to there, but I am definitely a Mac man. Kind of in an embarrassingly deep way. I had, until a couple years ago, I had every single magazine from the beginning of its publication until the end of Mac Addict magazine. I decided to finally get rid of them because it was a giant box that was very heavy, and we're trying to downsize our basement storage area. But anyway, that's besides the point. Maybe one episode someday we'll talk about Macs and how amazingly bad and amazing sometimes they are compared to other systems. But that could start holy wars of craziness. Anyways, thanks for watching today. Let me switch over to my handy dandy social links list down here at the bottom. I'm Gearling guy everywhere. I don't know why I do this, but I saw that someone else did it on their live stream and I thought it looked really cool, so thought I'd do it too. But thanks for watching today. Please again go to the live stream or on my YouTube channel, just go to the previous video and click like if you haven't already. That will donate $2 to the Drupal Association for their Drupal Cares campaign. Also, if you are a Drupal developer and you have a little time, there's a lot of Drupal 8 modules that don't currently work in Drupal 9, but they only require minor modifications to work. So please do that, and that'll get another 18 or 36 or however many euros donated to the Drupal Association. And I hope that you're doing well. I hope that you're getting through all these crazy times in a good way. And I'm extremely happy to be able to stream a little better this week with the new laptop in place. It seems to have held up pretty well, and the quality is also a little nicer. I was able to set most of the quality settings to their maximum instead of their minimum, so that's kind of cool. It's 30 frames per second, which is twice what it was last week at 15 frames per second. So nice to be able to do that. Nice to talk to you today, and I will see you next week where we'll pick up with a configuration split, hopefully finish that off, and then start making plans for the final site migration, which will be live on the live stream to my new Drupal 8 site from the old Drupal 7 site. And I'm guessing that at the worst possible moment during that stream, which will happen in the next few episodes, GitHub will be down again. So I'll also have to make contingency plans for that. But thank you for joining the live stream today. See you next week. If you're also interested in Ansible, I have my live stream coming up tomorrow for Ansible, same time, same place. And if you want to be notified of that, click on the subscribe link below me and click on the notification bell thing. As I've said before, I don't like the notifications, but if you do, more power to you. And if you liked this video, click the like button. It won't give any money to the Drupal Association, but it's still nice to click the like button. It makes me happy. So thank you very much, and I'm going to end the stream. I have no idea when it's actually going to end, so it'll probably cut me off mid-sentence like it usually does, but we'll see.